Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back to our inferencing anchor chart. This is lesson 2. Last lesson, we introduced the new anchor chart. Just to review, that readers make inferences. And an inference is a new idea that the author did not state directly, but that you collected details for, thought over your details, and came up with a new idea. You were the detective or the puzzle maker who put the pieces together. So today we're going to dive in a little bit more deeply to see what that looks like inside of your head. And obviously I can't take a picture inside your head and see what's going on. So we have our illustration of a head here, and we're going to talk about how your reading voice or your details from the text along with your thinking voice thoughts can work together to do something pretty special, which is to make that new idea or that inference. And sometimes it comes without even thinking. Sometimes you just read and you're like, oh, I know exactly what they're talking about, even though it's not stated. And sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it, and that's great. Other times you have to go through this process to really figure out what's happening. So just know that we are going to do a couple practices today, and some of them might be like really easy and be like, I know that one. And other ones you might have to go through this whole process to really understand what you're being asked or what your new idea is going to be. So how do we come from all these details to our thinking voice to this new idea? So we have this head here, and I'm going to use it to demonstrate what's going on inside your brain when you make an inference. So we have all these details. Okay, so we're collecting our details. Details end up going on the outside because they're not from inside your brain. They're from the text. Okay, so we collect details. You know, maybe we've been asked a question, or maybe we're coming up with a theory of our own about something that's happening in a book, and we're collecting details to see what our new idea is going to be. Okay, so you collect your details, and then you're like, okay, now what do I do with all these details? We did practice reading and having thoughts, okay, back and forth, but it's a little bit more sophisticated where you have a goal and you're collecting details to reach that goal, either a question or a theory. All right, so you have these details. How are you going to organize them? How are you going to think about them? So there are some things you can look for. So this is now what your thinking voice is going to start doing. So after you're done reading, you go back to a certain spot, or maybe you've been collecting details throughout your chapter or throughout a paragraph. After you're done, you may be having thinking voice thoughts while you're reading. You should. But after you're done, you're going to do some more sophisticated thinking. Some like after you're done reading thinking. You might start looking for patterns in your details. Okay, so how do these ideas go together? What do you notice about them that makes them go together? Okay, and you might even ask yourself, you might even look at some of your details and kind of like move them around like, I know this detail goes with that detail. I might like move them next to each other. Okay, those two details go together because, and there's other ways you can look at your details as well. You can be looking for things that spark memories. And a lot of times when you infer and you didn't even realize you did it, when it comes so easy to you, it's probably because you have a memory. You have some background knowledge on something that you just read and you're like, I know what that is. Okay, so a lot of times, depending on if you have a specific memory that might relate to the story and it really sparks something in you, then sometimes having an inference is a little bit easier, or inferring. And the final one that we're going to talk about is looking for relationships between your details. So how do your details go together? It's kind of like patterns, but sometimes you can almost have like a cause and effect relationship between your details. So you might see one detail and be like, oh, okay, when that detail happens, I know what happens next. And you might say to yourself, okay, I see the relationship between this detail and this detail. I know, like when this detail happens, that definitely leads to this detail. So let's practice, because these are all nice and pretty up on our board, but if we don't practice them, we don't really know what we're doing yet. We have to try it out. And when you're done with all of those, and you ask yourself and you organize your details and you talk it over, if it didn't just jump right out at you, going through this process is going to help you come up with that beautiful inference or that new idea. Okay? And I tried to color code these for you, so we kind of have the thinking voice things being kind of like yellow, our reading voice or our text details are green, and that new idea is that bright pink inference down there. I don't have all my colored Post-it notes with me, but I did try to color code them just in the pens that I was using, so hopefully you can see that. Let's go through our passage and we'll practice doing this together. You are going to get a question. Okay, we are going to do our reading voice. We are going to collect some details, have some thoughts. Okay, it's going to be a little different than before. So I'm going to read it to you. You should be reading along with your reading voice. You should be having some thoughts. Okay, but then we're going to go back once we have this question, and then we're going to look for details. So we're actually going to do 2 read-throughs. So let's do the first one together. And I know a lot of you like the strategy of reading the question first, so you know what you're looking for. We can look down at the question. It says, what are they doing? I'm just trying to make sure it's straight. Okay. First, they put on special gear. They enter a dark room and begin hiding, watching for others. They know that they have to stay within certain boundaries. Red beams of light flash, and players' vests vibrate. If this happens too often for one player, he is eliminated. Okay, what are they doing? Some of you might have a connection. Some of you might have a memory of something like this, and you might know right away. Okay, but we're not sitting in class, so you can't raise your hand and tell me yet. If you know it, fantastic. Follow along with me anyways, because inferences don't always just pop in your head. So I want you to know this process. If you don't know it, we're going to figure it out together. All right, so to shorten on time on the video, I wrote out some of my details already, but the way that you would do it is you would reread and think, okay, what details are going to help me answer this question? What are they doing? First, they put on special gear. All right, special gear. I'm thinking about that. Special gear. That's definitely a detail I want to pay attention to. Okay, special gear. All right, and they enter a dark room. Ooh, yeah, that dark room part, that sounds important. Okay, and now they begin hiding and watching. Hiding and watching. Okay, when I put some of these up here, I'm just going to take down the examples just so it doesn't get too crowded. Okay, so I'm putting my text details. Notice I'm not writing in complete sentences. I'm grabbing up little phrases, maybe even just 1 or 2 words. Okay, and I'm putting on the outside of the head. Okay, still going. Ooh, watching for others. 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 They know they have to stay within certain boundaries. Boundaries, got it. I'm having a lot of thinking voice thoughts. I'm just not saying them out loud yet because I'm still collecting all my details first. But if you have a thinking voice thought about something, that's probably a detail you need to write down. Red beams of light. Red beams of light. That sounds important too. They flash and players' vests vibrate. Vibrating vests. Vibrating vests. I'm going to put that over there. And there's players. Okay, so there's more than one player. Players. If this happens too often for one player, he is eliminated. So I chose the word eliminated. Okay, so notice my details. If I had green Post-its, they'd be in green, but I have green writing here. And now that I've done the first step, I've collected my details for the purpose of answering this question. I'm going to go through and see if there's any patterns any memories that I might have about these details, or any relationships that I notice. Okay, so first I'm going to look for some patterns, things that go together. Okay, things that go together. Like players and others sound like kind of like the same thing. Like maybe there's like two teams, maybe? Or they're playing a game. Okay, yeah, I definitely see a relationship there. I see players, and you know what, when you play a game, sometimes you get like eliminated. So I'm kind of thinking that that makes me think that they're playing a game. Okay, so now I'm having a thought. The word game was never mentioned. That's my thought, so it goes inside the brain. Okay. Yeah, and you know what? It sounds like there's certain rules about this game, like things you're supposed to do, like boundaries, and like hiding and watching. And that almost reminds me of like a memory. It kind of makes me think of like playing hide and seek. But, you know, even though that makes me think of hide and seek, I don't think I ever played hide and seek with like special gear on or with a vibrating vest. And maybe sometimes it was in a dark room, but usually not that dark, because then you couldn't find anybody. All right, so I'm keeping those together. I definitely see that there are rules. Okay, so there's rules about like hiding, and it's definitely a game with rules with like boundaries and hiding. Let's see, I've still got some other things here, like special gear, vests, red beams of light. Like I'm thinking maybe there's like special equipment for this game. Okay, so now I'm looking like, okay, when something happens, maybe like, I think the special gear and the vibrating vest definitely go together. I'm gonna put those together. But I'm wondering if something happens. I have these two ideas left. I have these red beams of light in this dark room. Okay, and notice how I'm just kind of moving these around. And when you do this, if you want to write them on Post-its, I think that's great if you have those at home. Or you can do it on the worksheet that I'm leaving for you. You can kind of move the text boxes around. I'm noticing something about this dark room and these red beams of light, and I definitely think that those go together. I think you need the dark room so you can see the red beams of light. And I'm wondering, you know, I have this special equipment here, if maybe that goes together with this dark room and these red beams of light. I'm trying to think of like times like that I can connect back to like red beams of light when that makes me think of something. Kind of reminds me of something that I learned in science, like light beams. There were different kind of lights and like different colors, and they called those lasers. That's what I'm thinking. It's making me think lasers. So a game with special equipment and rules that might involve lasers. Oh, do you see it? You see how we went through and we organized and we moved around and we thought about all these clues and how do they relate to each other? Does it bring back memories? I think I got it. I think I got my new idea. Did you get it? Let's see if you got what I got. I think, and this is my new pink idea, I think I know. They are playing. What are they doing? They are playing laser tag. And I hope, boys and girls, that you've played that game before, because it is so fun. And truth be told, I was able to read this and I was like, this one jumped right off the page at me, and that's why I picked it. I have a memory of playing laser tag and my kids playing laser tag, so that was kind of a fun one for me. But again, even if it jumps off the page at you and you know it, why do you know it? Try to figure out why and go through this process anyways, because when you get to a harder passage, or if you don't have the memory that makes you automatically think of it, this process is going to help you. So I'm leaving you with one short paragraph, and I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. You're going to write down some details on the outside in the green boxes I left you. You're going to write down some thoughts that you're having. Remember, these are your thoughts, not from the text. When you're grouping things together, what does it make you think of? And then your inference is going to be your answer to the question in the pink. And when you're done, hopefully you still have some time to read your books. You guys are doing a great job reading your books, and I'm really enjoying hearing that you're taking your time and reading a little bit each day when you can. All right, have a great day. Miss you guys. Bye.